a trip to Insanity Island.
Whoa, is Insanity Island back?
Insanity Island.
Damn, it's insane. We got Dr. Todd, we got Pendo, we got your host. Richard had to deal with a little emergency, but we're working on some more guests. So stay tuned. Stay tuned, fan base.
If you want me to, I can take up Richard's slack and pretend I'm a little like sensible.
Yeah, a little more, a little more calm. All right, well, we'll go ahead and just kick it off. The lead story is other than the debt ceiling, which we'll get to, and some other things, Miller Lite, Tim Scott, Brittany Griner. We're going to talk about, there was an incident that occurred in New York. Was it New York City, I do believe? There was
yes, sir.
Okay. There was a nurse. She was getting off work and she was trying to rent one of those portable, rentable bicycles. And she was accused of being a racist. You want to provide a little background on this, Chris, about what happened?
Yeah, she was a nurse. She just got done with a 12-hour shift, probably saving a lot of black people doing it. And she came out to try to go home, and she had already rented this bike. She went to pick it up, and all of a sudden she gets surrounded by like 4 or 5 big black guys around this little white woman. Well, she's probably scared to death, wondering what the hell they're doing. She starts acting nervous. They start mocking her and telling her that's their bike. They refuse to let her leave, which I think that's called kidnapping. By law, you're not allowed to do that. Even if you think you did rent that bike, you don't have the legal right to do that. Nobody's even mentioned that. I'm the only person on the planet that has mentioned that. That is kidnapping.
No, that's a good point. Now, was this being videoed?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they were filming it. The black scholarly men were filming it. And she started crying, and they were intimidating her. And then they started mocking her because she was crying, and she was trying to tell them she was pregnant. She get out of fucking miscarriage because of that. 6 months pregnant, by the way.
Okay,
so
what ended up happening? Did she get in any sort of trouble or anything like that?
Not legal trouble, but the internet destroyed her with cries of, they're calling her Nurse Karen. She's a racist. And she is this close to losing her job because of this. They put her on administrative leave because of that video. And because of everybody. Well, the next day after all that happened, her attorney comes out with a receipt that she did rent that bike.
That says, here you go. Todd, what does this what does this say? Did this woman have a right to be concerned, Dr. Todd?
Yeah, I mean, I think to add a touch more color to Chris's thing, what you're seeing is a scam that they do where they huddle around, let someone do it. They take it. They do one of two things. They just can joyride on it because you've paid for it. Now they just take it from you. Or they effectively do like the ransom, like you pay me to get it back. That's their little move. To Chris's point, she's so exhausted off work and she fit that perfect profile. Then they decide to film it. Think of I don't even know who it is. Think of who's filming that. Either you're part of it and you're filming your own crime. Just follow that. Think who would do that. Or you're witnessing this and you're the filmer. That's the bigger indictment here, is the fact that we let this go on, which is, by the way, a string into the other guy who choked the guy out, by the way, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So here's the thing. And then would this have gone viral organically? No. It tells you how desperate we are in one party to try to avoid real issue conversations and is literally rooting for like another George Floyd. So when they get their hands on this, they made it go. This is not, think about the old Jim Rome has this thing called the triple U: unfunny, uninspired, and unwatchable. When you have like a bad tech, this is not funny. It's not inspired. It's not even great TV. The point is the media is so desperately, it would not have gone viral on its own, is my point. And that's the sad part, that the media is like, okay, feed me this type of shit. And then it went, it became what it is.
Todd, I think you're right. They're looking for a story. They're looking to whip up the whole racial divide. But let me ask you this question, and Pendo, I'll get to you in just a moment. Let me ask you this question. In situations like this, it seems, at least it appears, that we're blaming the victim here, and that it's the general consensus that the black guys weren't doing anything wrong. But let me ask you this. Let's reverse it. What if this was a black nurse?
Oh,
okay. And she's surrounded by a bunch of big white guys trying to take her bike
and mocking her.
The exact same scenario. What do you think would have happened then, Todd?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that would be right on the edge of George Floyd. I mean, it would be that. That's what they would like to have happen. So it'd be chaos.
And
I got one thing.
And what do you think the reaction would have been then? Would they have? Would they have blamed the woman renting the bike then, if it were that scenario?
No, you've already answered your own question. No, but I got something to say though about this. There's this thing going around now. I saw another video where this black woman was still claiming that she thinks the attorney faked the receipt. Like, whatever, lady, just go to hell. But in it, she was saying how it was so egregiously racist for this white woman to be yelling help when she's dealing with a black person. Doing that is racist to this woman, because that brings the cops in. The cops beat up the black guy. I'm like, wait a minute. So you're telling white people, especially white women, that if they yell for help or they're in danger, no, you got to let the murderer just kill you, or you're going to be a racist. That's what's going around. What freaking world are we in?
You can't even cry for help if you're getting attacked.
No,
right?
you're still a racist, even though we have the receipt.
Racist now. Okay,
she's still a racist.
It's ridiculous. I mean, the way. I mean, okay, had that been my wife, okay, I would obviously be very upset about it. But the thing of it is that, and I've told my wife this. I said that the best way to stay out of trouble is to avoid trouble. So if she likes to go to a certain grocery store in an area that isn't the best, I tell her, I say, look, you see a group of men, I don't care if they're white or black, congregating towards you, you go in the opposite direction as quickly as possible, and just avoid it. And
what if they're trans men?
Well, you just avoid it. You just avoid the trouble. Why couldn't have this nurse had just left and just said, look,
she needed to get home. She was on the bike trying to ride. They stopped it and pushed it back into the lock.
Oh, is that what happened?
They surrounded her.
Wow.
So she started to cry and she's freaking out. The fact that she was crying, other black people are trying to say,
let me also,
like that is racist.
My wife is a nurse who thank God doesn't have this shift anymore. That's a 12-hour overnight shift, getting off at like 7 a.m.
Yeah, that's what happened to this woman.
See the picture. You got people who've been up all night, hanging out on the street, looking for their first, dare I say, meal in terms of their scam. You can see this happening. And to think that she would be at her wit's end, to your point, Tim, logic would say, get your phone out, take an Uber, whatever. But she had a routine. She's, we're tired, put out, and then the pregnancy, I didn't know that part about it, by the way. So she just kind of lost her shit.
Fair enough.
Plus, their argument is that a white pregnant nurse out of nowhere decided she's going to go fucking steal from five big black guys. Yeah, I'm in charge now. I'm the white chick. That's what they're trying to make us believe happened.
But do we know for a fact that it was her bike and paid for, that she wasn't trying to take someone else's bike? We know that.
Her attorney pulled out the receipt. They got the receipt for it.
Okay. All right. Well, I tell you what, I'm glad the lady's okay. I don't think she was beat up or anything, right?
No.
Here's just real quick to put this on Russ. Here's how the scam would work. Imagine you're hanging out by a vending machine. You're literally getting a candy bar. You put the money in, the candy bar drops, and the person goes, I've been putting money in. That's mine. Mine got jammed. They claim that the thing that they sit there and they act like it's theirs and they hope you give it to them so they can either joyride or they'll sell it to someone else. Like just like, hey, quick cash, this would normally be X, you can have it. That's the scam. They act
Yeah,
Okay.
it's like they were waiting
Okay.
for somebody to come and unlock it for them
Okay.
and then do the scam. That's exactly what happened.
So they were criminal thugs. Is that right?
I don't know. They were acting like it.
Why would they? Okay. And that's fine. And that's fine. But
Have you
why
ever
would
seen- here's another
why
one.
would the
Have you ever seen them do it at a bus thing at a MARTA, where they will purposely jam the tokens, and until the cops come, they'll take your money. Hey, the thing's jammed, give it to me, and then they go use it themselves. It's a version of that. They claim
Okay.
that there's like a malfunction.
I got you.
Wait, like as if they've been the ones. Yeah, it's a
Well,
version. of that.
somehow that video that the criminal thugs took leaked. I wonder how that happened.
Yeah,
Took a
Right.
what?
The criminal thugs were the ones filming it, correct?
We're not sure.
Okay.
I don't know who filmed it.
Okay. All right. So glad she's okay, and that's good. But it's unbelievable. She's the one being called a racist. Okay. So the debt ceiling, that's been in the news. Apparently they have not worked a deal out yet. Kevin McCarthy has been pleading with Biden to have a discussion and negotiate for several months. I think Biden is finally, getting agreeable to talk about it. But the bottom line is this, and why it's such a big issue. So we haven't come this close to default since 2011. Okay. So it's been, almost 12 years since this has happened. We currently have 32, and the reason why it's such a big a roadblock right now, we have 32 trillion in debt. Okay, 32 trillion, which was unimaginable 10 years ago, right? We'd have that much debt. The budget is 6 trillion. We bring in 4 trillion, so we're going to add another 2 trillion on top of the 32 trillion, and this is just going to keep on going and keep on going and keep on going until we do eventually default, right? I mean, we cannot keep adding this amount of debt.
That's what the Democrats want.
Well, that's where I'm going with this, Chris. Why do you think we're pouring on so much debt? And is there really anything that can be done about it?
Yeah, if the Republicans would grow a pair, then yeah. But they keep giving into the Democrats. Democrats trying to destroy the United States, man. That's part of their plan. They want to break the system down and destroy it. Every single thing they do is to hurt America. I can't think of one thing that they do or they propose or they put into power that helps us. Everything Joe Biden has done has been against us. If we speak out at a board meeting, they sick the FBI on you. If you say anything about the administration online, they'll get YouTube to shut you out. It's always against us, all the border. Fuck the people that live here. Let's give those people tons of money. We'll bring them in. We'll destroy them. They're purposely trying to destroy us. So the debt's just one more weapon.
Well, yeah, and Todd, if we do end up defaulting, is that going to be, some sort of economic tragedy or what are we really facing here?
We're not going to default. I'm not going to act like I'm the genius here. I watched Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful, talk about this. He says the indication that a deal is imminent is look at the 2-year and the 10-year treasuries. They are the most highly traded security in the world. Basically, the US dollar is the gold standard, if you will, in terms of global currency, and they remained unchanged. If there was default imminent with the amount of trading in those two securities, you would see the advanced reaction by the market. It means a deal is imminent. Now, my bigger, broader question, and Tim, since you're the facilitator, I want to throw this on you. Tell me what the way we need to relate in order to do something about it productive, whether it's the left or the right. Don't we have to relate the impact of the debt ceiling to the common person so they get more outraged? I think the common person doesn't know the impact to them, so that it's not really a widely talked about issue. To that, you say what, Tim? How do we need to make it a big issue?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think it's an unrelatable topic because most people don't understand what the ramifications are to them, right? But I mean, it's the equivalent of a household who has a massive amount of debt, can barely afford to pay the bills, but yet you're going to go out and borrow a ton more money, in order to pay the bill. So you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. However, the difference is, and a lot of economists will tell you this, is that one thing about a country going deeper in debt, particularly the United States economy, or government rather, is the United States' currency, the US dollar, okay? We happen to have the strongest currency in the world, okay? Everyone else's currency is measured to the US dollar.
Yep.
So because of that, it gives the United States a lot more leverage than your typical country. Take Japan, for instance. Japan has been doing this for decades. Their debt to GDP is, I think it's over 200% now, right? The United States debt to GDP has always been under 100%. It was about 50% in the year 2000. Now it's 120%, and nothing's happened, right? Our currency is still the strongest in the world by default, because everyone else's currency is also very, very, very weak, and they're just have a tremendous amount of debt. I think the big question is, what happens to the global economy if the United States of America were to default? What would happen? It certainly happened to Germany, right? And they recovered. Germany, they defaulted, after World War I. They defaulted again after World War II. They were able to reorganize their debt and become a very big
problem. There's a problem with all that, Tim. The Germans had an intelligent society of human beings. And we have people that will kick out Lori Lightfoot and then put in a worse guy in Chicago. That's our public. Our public will elect a Joe Biden.
Germany kicked out their chancellor and replaced him with Adolf Hitler.
No, they didn't. They really didn't. Hitler did not win the popular vote in Germany. He won 26% of the vote. It's just stupidly the Germans had it set up that whoever won the most gets in. You don't have to, you didn't, after that, they made it where you had to have a majority. But only 26% of the people voted for Hitler. He just seized power once he got in. But the humans that were in the German nation were never as nearly fucking retarded as the, I don't know what gender population we have today.
I mean,
just go from Lori Lightfoot to this new guy in Chicago.
That's a great point. That's a great point. Hey, look what the people of Pennsylvania did with that Fetterman guy.
I guess what I'm saying is you're never going to be able to, the average person in the United States will never understand the debt limit because most of them don't have anything to do with it. They don't pay for it. They don't pay taxes. And I
don't think it's just the common everyday people. I think it's like probably 90% of the people. I mean, very few people can tell you, hey, what would happen to the economy if the United States did in fact default? Like would it really be that impactful? I mean, maybe not, maybe it would. The fact of the matter is we have 32 trillion in debt. And we're just piling on.
I have an interesting thought. You know what I will call an effective default would be, which I think Trump would be supportive of, is like we stop becoming the world's police. There's two issues that goes on. If the Republicans are in favor, we criticize our spending on us being bullies. If we try to do what's going on, for example, in Ukraine, if the Republicans were in power, we would say we're going over there because of oil. It would be some sort of cynical angle for us that we're spending money for dominance. If the Democrats are in power, we're bleeding hearts. We're sending money to people to try to save the world. Uganda, go on and on. But when are we going to stop and be like America first and stop that? What I would say an effective default is we stop giving you fucking money. Meaning we're defaulting on our charity. That would be a version. And yet I think the American people, if they saw benefit, but we have to translate that money to what, if we invested in ourselves, what that would do for us. and let someone else do it. Trump is on this right now when the CNN thing where he was talking about what would you do to the Ukraine. He kind of deflected the question. He said, first thing I would do is I would put the screws to Europe to make them pony up their fair share. Will you see it? See how that's kind of like an effective default, meaning we're going to negotiate and be in charge of the solution, but we're not going to just do it with our frickin' money. And that's where I think the American people are close to understanding the impacts of the debt ceiling. But we need to translate that next level as to saying, when we act like we're charitable, we act like there's all these nefarious things. We know that there's so much funny business going on in Ukraine. We have to educate the American people as to the bullshit of where their fucking money goes and how it does ultimately impact them.
That's a great point, Dr. Todd. The real needle mover, though, is the entitlements in the federal budget, particularly when it comes to Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security. I mean, I don't know how you roll that stuff back. I mean, that the only way to fix it is to do that as, and I just don't know if the American public has the stomach for it. I mean, half of the budget, $3 trillion, okay, is Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security. You could eliminate the debt problem overnight by eliminating those entitlements, but how do you do that? How do you do that? We become so dependent on Medicare. We become so dependent on Social Security. To roll that stuff back, I think it'd be a big challenge. We only spend $700 billion on our military. That's not the problem. It's the entitlements and the interest on the debt. We now spend $600 billion on the interest on the debt. So where do you cut? I mean, you got to go after the entitlements, unless you go after the welfare, which Social Security, Medicare, that is welfare. Unless you go after that, you're not going to solve the budget problem. And I don't think anyone has the stomach to do it. So the question is, can we keep borrowing and borrowing and borrowing forever? I ask you, Chris Pendarvis.
No, but we could at least start with not giving our freaking enemies money anymore. Like the Palestinians. Why are we giving them money? Why do we give countries that hate us money?
And that's the political gnarliness that we need to let the people in on. I'm with you, because we can't even answer it on this call. And we think we're halfway intelligent. And certainly I'm with you. Someone needs to get deep in that.
Yeah.
Tim, you're on it. Go. Handle it. Fix it.
There's just a lot of waste out there. Probably about, you talk about all those things that we give away that's just so wasteful. We're probably talking about $200 billion. That $200 billion could go a long way to paying down the debt. And it's just the subsidies. Hell, just the subsidies we spend on farmers is close to $300 billion.
That's usually them not to do something.
Yeah, but we need food resources, right? Speaking of which, this is something we didn't cover in our prep. Did y'all know about like the 150,000 cattle that were just burned up?
Yeah, what is it with the cattle? That's like the third or fourth time that kind of thing has happened.
It's weird.
What's the deal with that? What's going on with it?
Just to put that into context, how big that is.
Is that the Chinese trying to get rid of our food sources?
The
Wow.
second biggest ever before these last episodes of cattle's being burned alive in some sort of farm fire was about 400. This was 150,000. So, something big, something weird is going on. And it's
you don't think it's climate people, do you?
So was it accidental or was it disease prevention?
Yeah, what was the deal?
It was a fire.
So it was accidental.
How did a fire kill 180,000 cows?
Somehow it caught the field on fire, and they all, yeah.
Where did they have 180,000 cows together? Where would you even have? That's almost 250,000 cows.
It was almost like maybe they were herded together somehow, and someone knew they were all herded together, and somehow they.
Hey, wait a minute! Wait! Were they herding the cattle, and Billy Crystal was in charge?
Nah.
Is that what happened? Huh?
Or Chick-fil-A.
No, remember the movie?
Yeah.
With Billy Crystal and the Cowboys.
Yeah, the City Slickers.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's another topic. Maybe we should add that to our thing next week. But the debt ceiling thing is it's amazing how much we spend and how much is wasted. And, we'll just have to see how that transpires. And who knows, maybe we can keep borrowing indefinitely and keep kicking the can down the road. Okay, so the next big story, Miller Lite. Miller Lite apparently has some kind of new ad campaign that they tried to kill that leaked out. Chris, do you know anything about this?
Yeah, it's not a new ad campaign. It's an old ad campaign that they were trying to hide. Somebody found it and put it out online, and they're like, "Oh, Jesus."
So what is it? What?
But no, Todd, you've seen it, right?
Yeah, it was basically along the same lines as, Bud Light is trying to appeal to a demographic, and this was about women, which was women need to get more credit in the brewing history and the process. And so it was effectively like a historical angle, but much like Bud Light crossed the line.
How bad men are.
It was right on a line of like accusing. It wasn't like the celebration of women as if it would have been like, let's say, Women's Month. It was more on the line of like accusing, like, the toxic masculinity that like, it was like, we give too much credit for men drinking beer. And like we said in the show prep, the question is, even if you were mildly successful, how do this is what, to me, the bigger issue, and I'll shut up here. Whoop, let me get out of that. Someone's calling.
What happened?
Sorry. Is the bigger issue is, how does this pass the inner room executive test at any level when someone has to go, yes, Mr. Mitchell, that's a pretty good idea. Can you walk me through the demographic of the size of that idea?
That's a great.
How many
That's
women
such a great point.
Yeah, Tim, what the ad did
it
was
tells you how deep the wokeness is not even about marketing, because it would never pass the addressable market issue. So it's what makes it so crazy. It tells you, it's almost like there's people who are in these companies that are like Chris talks about, that are the Dems are trying to blow up our country. There are people in big companies, you could argue, are plants that are trying to take the companies down. I mean, explain that.
yeah, in the ad.
It's almost unexplainable.
Tim, in the ad, well, the purpose of the ad was this librarian-looking woman, she looked like Leia with the buns in her hair and everything, coming in bitching about how bad men are, and it showed, we invented beer, and then they made us into this. And she pointed at a Hot Babe poster, and she started tearing it down, saying, "We're going to take all these posters and we're going to turn it into shit, and then we're going to give it to women brewers, and they're going to turn it into other shit." She actually said the word. And then they're going to put it together. They're going to make great beer. We're going to make great shit out of this bad shit. And
it's kind of funny, though, right? She rips down a poster of a Hot Babe.
Yeah, but so what? Being attractive is a bad thing?
Well, I hear you. And
it was just so feminist, and you're bad for liking attractive women. It was one of those.
Okay, I got you.
And you men are tiny. Get out of the way.
So it wasn't done in a funny way. It was done like a serious.
They thought it was in a funny way. It was just offensive as hell.
Oh, okay.
And it pissed people off, and they tried to hide it.
I see.
Yeah, someone found it and brought it back out. Now it's viral.
That would have backfired. That could have backfired.
Yeah.
Interesting. And to Todd's point, this wokeness going on in all these huge companies, like, do they think that's going to increase their profits? Like, why are they
believe the new generation coming up is all woke, but that's not true. That's still only a tiny percentage of humans that are really out there. You've got a lot more of them that are woke than used to be.
Well,
that's not their big audience.
I'd like to know, though, like the incoming, say, freshman class and all the universities that's coming in fall 2023. I remember when I was going to college, and I did go to a conservative university, at least they were conservative at that time. And, back then it was Reagan was the president, and, people loved him. I mean, I'm talking the young people, the college age people loved Reagan. The next big election that was coming up was between Bush and Dukakis. And I remember all these, they call them the young Republicans. And they all supported Bush. And there were very few, I remember, were Democrats. Is it inverted today? Is it more the majority are Democrats, the minority are the Republicans?
I would say the majority.
I'm asking Todd.
I have a son right in the middle of this at Auburn, and so I'm going to say it's misleading. I think there are now, granted, that is a Southern representation at Auburn, but I think, like anyone, when we cross a line to trying to teach us how to think, so not teach us, tell us how to think so blatantly, when it was a choice for, and the point is they're getting smart and they don't like it. There's this newer batch that is embracing the conservatism. They're embracing, for example, the anti-culture. They're really liking gnarly, nasty comedians and people, that kind of thing. So I think it is overrated. It's like a misreading of putt, man. The wokeness and these corporations is like, here we got golf coming on later today. They see it as 3 inches outside right, and it is left to right, man. They are totally misreading it.
Hey, Tim,
Okay.
I've got a question for you. Has wokeness worked for Disney?
Oh my God, my wife. They're one of the biggest offenders, right? I mean, exactly.
I mean, look at the Star Wars. Look what happened to Star Wars. They bought Star Wars. They did The Force Awakens, and everybody was like, "Okay, it's not that great of a movie, but it's not that bad." Then the last Jedi came out, and it blew the fan base apart because it was just feminism on freaking steroids. Every man is bad. Every man is a piece of crap. Rey, the character of Rey, is perfect and can do no wrong. People did not like that. So by the time it got to the third movie, their audience was cut in half.
What was the third one? What was the third movie called? The third Disney Star Wars movie?
The Rise of Skywalker. That was them trying to get the fans back. Look, it's got the word Skywalker in it. He wasn't in the movie though. I mean, it had nothing to do with him.
Really?
What? Yeah, he was in it at the end. Anyway,
It makes you wonder what the next one's going to be like.
well, it's going to be about Rey.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, which is going to tank.
They're going backwards.
Yeah, they're bad.
Do
They're
any of these Disney Star Wars movies make money?
This is what happened. When the first one came out, it was great. It made $2.6 billion. The Force Awakens. When the second one came out, everyone was a medium. Word of mouth made it go down to about $1.5 billion. By the time about almost 2, but not quite. Then by the time you get to the last one, the Rise of Skywalker, it was at 1.2 billion. That's
They're
more
going
than
down.
half. Started at 2.6, ended at 1.2.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
bad. Oh, and by the
it-
way, in the middle of all that, they put out the Han Solo movie, and it became the first Star Wars movie to lose money
Wow. Okay.
ever. So I can't wait until they come. They haven't done another one since all that. I don't think they understand how people don't like them anymore and how unpopular that Rey character is. So I want them to make it because I want them to go out of business, and I want them to take the fucking mouse with them.
Oh, well, okay. Okay, so yeah, wokeness is backfiring. All right, so we have a new Republican candidate that's thrown his hat in the ring, a South Carolinian by the name of Tim Scott, who he just released his first ad over the weekend. And I got to tell you, I thought it was a great ad. I mean, I'm a big Trump fan. I want, but I do like Tim Scott.
He's not doing that
very
to be
much.
president.
Tim Scott's a great Republican. And,
Right, he is, but he's not doing it to be the president. We all know what he's doing.
what do you think his motive is, Chris?
Cabinet position or VP.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, they all do that. I'm not putting the guy down.
Todd, do you think that Trump is going to hold this against Tim Scott, or do you think Tim Scott will get some kind of reward, so to speak?
Good. That's a good one. I think I would argue that, first of all, with the way the Dems went after Trump on the civil trial, there are some guys throwing their name in the hat just in case something outright disqualifies Trump. Let's say he gets into such hot water. I think the numbers in the polling says that he's ahead. So he has been a blatant Trump backer, and I think it would make a lot of strategic sense. But I would say it's over 50% in his own mind. Something, he doesn't want to be so in the backseat to Trump that he's just doesn't put his hat in the ring like something. So I think it's, it'll be really interesting to see if Trump goes character there or something. I don't think he can help himself. Everyone who puts their hat in the ring is going to probably get scarred to some degree.
Unless they call Trump ahead of time and say, look, this is what I'm really doing. So just
That's a possible. I kind of think that, and I really would hate to see them smear it. And I'm just going to tell you why I like Scott. I think he's conservative. All the issues, he's self-made. He's got a great story. He presents himself well. And then the other one, I like having candidates that largely can speak from a level of experience on issues that we need to take off the table. Racism.
Yeah, Joey Reed
These are
says
things-
he's
I
not
like
black.
the only thing that could be better if he was handicapped and gay. But I know, Tim, I've joked about that, but the reality is dead serious. We have isolated assholes in this planet on all sides, white, black, everything. But we don't have these problems that we are inventing. And like the wokeness that we talked about, we don't bash trans people. They exist and they're probably pretty damn happy. But we don't have to change entire corporations around these narratives. And someone like Scott, I actually would like, I'm worried about the Trump thing. I almost would like to see Scott be an actual presidential legit candidate, or maybe DeSantis Scott. So I hope it's not just a fait accompli. I really want to see him shine personally. And that's in the final point here. The frickin' Republicans broadly have a pretty damn strong bench. Nikki Haley, I can go on and on. And that's another one of my reasons why I think we're trying to get these push narratives about issues like race and whatever, because the bench strength of the Dems is so weak, so is their platform.
Yeah, but
That's
the
a great
Democrat,
point. Their
but
bench is so weak. Who did the Democrats have? They have Joe Biden. Are you kidding me? The guy can barely speak.
I know,
They've got
who's their edge?
Kamala Harris. Everyone hates her.
hey, they've got Pete Buttigieg.
Yeah.
Hey, they've got that Native American lady, Elizabeth Warren.
Oh boy.
They got her. Come
Pendo,
on.
Pendo, who do you like better, Tim Scott or Ron DeSantis?
Ron DeSantis. And I like Tim Scott. But DeSantis has already been a governor twice now. He knows how to be an executive and do the job of president, because that's pretty much what a governor is a mini president. That's what they do. If you're just in Congress, all you're doing is voting. So nothing against Scott. I like the guy. You know,
Yeah.
but between the two, I mean, or what Todd just said of DeSantis with a VP of Tim Scott. That'd be good.
That'd be good for 28.
Or Trump with Tim Scott as VP.
Yeah.
That'd be
Yeah.
great. It'd be kind of hard to call him a racist, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I just want to see Trump make all those liberals cry.
Hey, that's not a Miller line, is it?
Cry and cry. You know,
Diet Pepsi, sorry.
let me ask you this question, because it kind of comes down to a little bit of a revenge factor for stealing the election in 2020. Todd, who are the Democrats going to likely be more enraged and cry about if they get elected president? Tim Scott, Ron DeSantis, or Donald Trump? Who are they?
You know the answer to that.
Trump. I mean, come on.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Don't we want to see them cry?
Yes.
Yes. Todd, who do you like better, Tim Scott or Ron DeSantis?
God, I'm channeling my inner Richard here in some ways. I love Pendo. I love the darkness, and I'm with you. And I really, so just the short answer to your question, Tim, on the crying, come on. And then I like that. I would like to see a couple days of outright bridge jumping and toaster bathing with toasters, these things, and just the outright meltdowns on TikTok. I would like that. However, I think that will bleed into this chaos. I mean, look, guys, I'm a believer that they literally created the pandemic, a global meltdown.
I agree with you.
Because we were holding aces and they had 7-2 offsuit and said, we have to pull this lever. So what would they do if it happened again? So by the way, the order, Tim, that I would say it's Trump. Trump is 10x on DeSantis, and DeSantis would be a quasi meltdown. Scott actually would be, I think, let's be honest, the minority thing would carry weight to temper what would probably be a meltdown. So that's the order. If you want me to state the meltdown order, it's Trump by far. DeSantis would be, a Mount Vesuvius type meltdown, but not a planet blow up, and then you got Scott would be, I mean, he'd feel like a Democrat coming from those two.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
Not his values, but in terms of their meltdown.
And that's fair. I want to see a meltdown so badly. And I think, a lot of Republicans disagree with me. They say Trump is unelectable in a national election. I disagree. Biden is so bad and so horrific. I think that Trump can beat Biden in 2024. What do you think, Dr. Todd?
Yes, he can.
Okay, Pendo, your thoughts? Can Trump beat Biden in 24?
Well, yeah, he can beat anybody. If they have a fair election, we'll see.
Yeah, assuming the election's fair. Can
Yeah, I
Trump
don't know.
24?
If it's fair, then yeah. Honestly, I think Trump won last time.
Oh, he did win.
Yeah, I
He
think so too.
He did. Okay, so but Tim Scott, I think he's got a big likability factor. Todd, if you had to decide, let's say Trump's out of it. If you had to decide between Tim Scott or Ron DeSantis, who would you pick, Todd?
Wow. Do I have to say right now, because I really want to hear a little bit deeper discussion on the issues? But if I'm just
on the surface, just based on what you know now.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Scott.
Yeah, me too. I like Tim Scott better. Pendo likes DeSantis better because he's been a governor and he feels that would be better suited to be a president, which makes sense. I just happen to like Tim Scott better as a person.
Oh, I love Tim Scott. He's great.
No, I understand.
Yeah, he's
He is
great.
great.
I like the guy.
Okay. So Brittany Griner's back in the news.
Woohoo! God,
Okay.
I'm so glad she's back in our country.
She had a little coming out party, okay, in her first WNBA appearance. And it was basically pretty much empty in the stands. Is that fair?
Oh.
And the coach is bewildered, going, "Why wasn't it a sellout?" Todd, why do you think it was not a sellout when Brittany Griner came back?
I'm muting, passing to Chris because there's a big loud thing. I'll come back.
Okay.
Oh, because I think we all know the answer to that. Why wasn't it a sellout? For one thing, it had the WNBA in it somewhere involved. That's going to make it not a sellout right off the bat.
Okay.
I mean, they can't even sell out to women and gay women. If the Democrats act like 90% of the country is gay, well, where are they? Why aren't they supporting the women basketball team? Because nobody wants to watch it. Nobody cares. Nobody really cared that Brittany Griner was in prison because she did it to herself. The same woman that used to kneel before the flag, trash America, turns around and wants America to bring her back. And all the people that were her champion are some of the worst human beings on the face of the earth, like LeBron James. Well, jackass, we did bring her back. Do you think differently of America now? No, of course not, because you're a racist piece of shit. And all the people that backed her are racist pieces of shit. And you know what? Most of those people don't go watch the NBA. You know why? Because nobody watches the NBA. Not even people in the NBA watch the NBA.
Or the
Where are the
WNBA.
family
The
members
WNBA.
of the teams. Where are the friends and family members? They
Todd,
should be
are
able to tell something out.
Todd, are you surprised that Putin let Griner go?
No. Number one, think of the timing. It was, you had other stuff going on.
And he got his guy back.
And
Yeah, he got that terrorist back. Yeah.
yeah, so no. If I could just, here's the thing about this, Tim, you and I have talked about this. I have this fascination called like the making of a Democrat. Like, where does it start? The fact that they took over schools, like this breeding of the mentality. One of the things they underestimated about the fact they think they can, make these people, whether it's the wokeness, whether it's the, the stuff in schools and the trans, it makes them, and and this gets back to Chris's point about why they don't just even support their own person or their own cause. They make selfish people. They don't fucking realize that people that went to war and the conservatives usually think, whether it's Jesus, whether it's the country, they have a mentality of thinking and acting in something bigger than themselves. Look at the fact that look how many feminists there are. You're talking about these cities that have tons. These are Portland. These are Atlanta. How can't they just get their own people to go support? They're fucking selfish. And here's the other thing they realized and why they had to cheat in the voting. They also don't fucking vote. They're so takers. They're selfish. They won't do anything that you ask them. And they're going, oh my God, what more can we give these fuckers that makes them loyal to us? You can't. It doesn't go both ways. If
They're
you
so
make
lazy they won't even vote.
Oh, it's like Star Wars. It's like Star Wars. Star Wars changed everything to suit these people. Where are they? Why aren't they going to watch it? They don't care about Star
that's
Wars.
another
They
point.
just wanted to destroy it, and then they
Where
move
are
on
all
to the next
Brittany
thing. and
Griner
destroy
supporters?
that.
To Todd's point, where are Brittany Griner supporters? When it said free Brittany, free Brittany, free Brittany, yet they don't show up and watch her in her first game. I mean, like the selfishness and the laziness that Todd's talking about. I mean, it's so apparent.
Oh, he's right. He's absolutely right. Plus, they just like to destroy. They don't really like.
They don't
destroy-
build anything.
They destroy it exactly. They went. They're like a clown with a
No,
clowns
that's
are
a
with
good
a clown.
point. They'll come to a destruction. That was a celebration where it was crickets. The only people that showed up were these little things that make crickets sounds, apparently.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's
it.
why these companies are so dumb to go. Okay, we'll cave and we'll target the wokesters because there's a oncoming people. They don't support you. They don't care about Indiana Jones or Lord of the Rings or Star Wars. They don't care about these things. White males care about these things. They just wanted to destroy them because white males cared about them. That's it. So they supplant the white male with the ultra feminist female boss chick. They destroy it. They don't show up and support it. And so fuck Disney and fuck Lucasfilms.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah,
a little mouth.
No, it's a great point. It's a great point. They scream and yell for the change. They scream and yell for the destruction. And then when they get the change, they don't
move on.
support.
They
don't
want to move
support
on to the next thing.
Yep.
Yeah, they don't support it. That's exactly right. And it started to skyrocket. It started to skyrocket under this ESG, which is permeated with all these corporations now. It used to be a voluntary thing.
Yeah, they got to give that up, or they're going to
And
destroy
I think Todd, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't they put ESG under the SEC? Like it's somehow now regulated. They have to have it now.
That's
Todd?
illegal.
Yeah, it's funny. It is
It's very illegal.
It's well as it relates to the ERISA Act, which is the money like pensions and things. That's where I think you're talking about, Tim.
Okay.
Yeah,
I might have it confused.
yeah. So it's but it's funny. Yeah, the prevailing thought is this kind of gets back a little bit into selfishness. At the end of the day, when you're talking about somebody's money, what someone wants to hear or see at GE or some government, whoever has the pension, is, hey, good news, your pension's going up $52 or something. What they don't want is to be so woke that all of a sudden they're realizing that these ESG driven strategies may not be the best investments. And that's where it kind of crosses into this fiduciary thing, like Chris said, where it's illegal, where you're supposed to consider all good investments that are for the best interest of the people, the employees.
And you're not supposed to judge them.
That's
because
right.
of some political
That's right.
identity.
So
It's
it's
supposed to be illegal.
Well,
but
Chris,
it's a very popular.
here's how they do it, Chris. So they do an end run around Congress because Congress is supposed to make the laws, right? Well, what they do is they just drop a little regulation, in the SEC, which is the governing body of every publicly traded stock in America. They drop a little regulation, and then that's how they do it, and that's how they're legal. So
But it's not legal. It's against the
you could argue
Constitution.
that. You could argue that,
That's no argument. It's against the Civil Rights Amendment.
but it's happening.
Oh, there's a lot of things illegal that have happened. There's all kind of laws out there, but you have to take them to court and you have to,
But no one's going to challenge it because it's going to make them look like they're not environmentally, conscious. And
well, it's going to have to get to a
some kind
point
of
where
audit
somebody's
by
going to
the
have to not give a
SEC.
shit.
All of a sudden,
Yeah.
the SEC and the IRS is coming auditing you, and they don't want that, so they comply, right?
Well,
You know what
we're
I'm just
dead.
you know what I'm realizing as we're talking, when we all agreed intellectually, you cannot understand why InBev, which is the Budweiser parent company, or Miller Lite, whatever, or these big woke companies would do the things they do with the limited demographic of that audience. But here's the twist. What if they're failing to get investing dollars into these big funds and things because they're not satisfying the woke screen? Or the
Well, that's
that could be
a big
I don't
part of
know
it.
that. I'm kind of speculating, but that makes more sense as to why they'd consider that dog shit than the addressable market of the actual
Well,
people.
Todd, look at some of the biggest fund managers in the world. Okay, George Soros. Okay, he's as woke gets. Warren Buffett, he's a liberal. Okay, you look at Ray
Dalio.
Dalio, he's a liberal. I mean, you look at some of these big giant fund managers, and they're liberal. Todd? Why do you think these giant fund managers have gotten so liberal?
I think all of those people, I think I would say this, other than Soros, I think they're more in the Bill Maher liberal. I think they're watching their liberalism change underneath them. I don't think they're as bad as we think. But why their bias was even there in the first place, I think, is that camp of Democrats that are so wealthy, they are almost guilt-ridden, and their biggest bias, and where the Democrats, I don't know why we allow them to own this, they believe that cause is for the little guy, and so they want to be tied with that kind of macro theme because they're so loaded that their legacy, if tied to one party or the other, that's the one they're going to choose. But it's gotten away from them, though, a little bit, Tim. But again, I don't know why the right allows them to take that moniker, but that's why I think that people like that are so uber wealthy do that.
I think you're right. I think it's wealth guilt. And if any mob is going to show up at your house and try to burn it down while you're in it, it's going to be leftists. It's not going to be Republicans, right? It's going to be,
yes,
it's going to be socialists. So they're trying to placate to them as a survival thing and a guilt thing. What do you think, Pendo?
I think you're both wrong. I think they're faking it.
Oh,
I don't believe them for
I
one
like
second.
that discussion.
I don't know. Now, Soros is a crazy left-wing, just freaking evil man. I mean, he's like Dr. Evil, you know. I want $1 billion. That's him. But the other guys like Bill Gates, Buffett, man, they're
Bill Gates, another great example.
I know, and I don't buy it for a second.
He looks exactly like Vader when he took his helmet off in Empire Strikes Back. By the way.
He does. He does.
When you really think about it, the United States of America has roughly 1,000 to 1,500 billionaires in it, right? Roughly, somewhere in that neighborhood. You see very, very few billionaires come out and be outspoken about protecting capitalism and a democracy and fair elections and low taxes, and we need a strong small business community. Very few are taking the Republican theme and script and broadcasting it, even though we're being threatened with real, perhaps, reality of having socialism. Very few, but a lot of them will be outspoken about, being a Democrat. Is that correct, or is that just me misreading it? Todd, your thoughts?
Well, first of all, media drives everything, so there's a little, but no, I think broadly, like you said, there's probably plenty of millionaire or billionaires that are.
Give me one billionaire. Give me one billionaire's name that's outspoken towards Republican themes. Just one.
There's one guy, that Texas oil guy. What was his name? Pickens or whatever. The billionaire out of Texas. The oil guy?
Yeah.
I don't think he's that outspoken about it, though.
I thought he was. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe
He's not on Twitter, I don't think.
Bottom line is, billionaires are going to shut their mouths and try to keep their money. They don't want to be a target. So,
yeah, but but they'll be outspoken about being a Democrat.
That's because they don't have to worry about Republicans destroying their existence.
Well, I can give you one name right now, and that's Elon Musk.
Yeah, he's the only one.
Other than him,
And I wouldn't call him a
cricket-
big conservative
it's
either.
crickets coming out of these guys. You know, even though it feels like we're under threat, and I just don't understand it. Maybe they're just scared. You know, they're scared of the mob.
That's what I think.
Okay. All right. So now moving on to final thoughts and predictions. We'll start with you, Todd.
Wow. Final thoughts and predictions. I am going to predict that I think I alluded to this earlier. There's another, I think because Donald Trump's going to be not run. Somehow he's going to be kicked out. I'm claiming that there's another, I don't know what they're going to do. So rather than keep bloviating here, I think there's something, they're so scared of him. This civil trial was the first thing. They are so scared. You asked, can he win? And you and I both agreed that he could, and so did Pendo. I think somehow he is going to, he's not going to be able to run. That is my bold
Wow.
prediction. I don't know what that is.
Big one. That's a big one. Okay, Pendo, final thoughts, predictions.
Indiana Jones and the Dial of Disney is going to tank.
Does this have Harrison Ford in it?
Yeah, it's the last one.
Wait, what is it? Indiana Jones what?
It's called Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, but a lot of people are calling it the Dial of Disney. It's got Phoebe Waller-Bridge in it. Feminist.
Who's that?
She's the one that did that Fleabag show. It was
I don't know
called
if I
Fleabag. She's a fucking feminist, is what she is. That's all you need to know.
Okay.
She's a modern feminist. And the whole movie is her mocking him and putting him down and trashing him. Originally, get this, they had it, and I believe this is true. There were rumors all over that, the people that work for Lucasfilms, that they had time travel in it. And at the end of the movie, he was going to be dying, and she was going to get his hat, jump through the Dial of Destiny, go back in time, and redo all the stuff he did, basically wiping out his existence.
Because all the
replacing it
stuff
with
he
a
did
woman.
was bad. Is that it?
Do what?
All the stuff he did was bad. Is that it? That's why she got to go redo it.
Well, he's a man, so we can't have that.
Of course.
Like there's lines in it like this, like, well, I took it from him, she took it from me, we took it from her, and then she said, and then I took it from you, I stole it from you. It's called capitalism.
Okay.
Well, no, actually, that'd be communism. Communism is when you steal people's shit.
That's right.
Capitalism is when you keep your own shit.
That's right. And modern feminists, Chris, I'm going to make a statement about what a modern feminist is. Since you brought it up, a modern feminist is no longer about protecting women.
No.
Modern feminist is about encouraging and supporting Marxist themes.
Kind of. It's really, but when it comes to the women, it used to be about, hey, if I want to have a child and live at home, I can do that. Or if I want to go to work, then I can go to work and do. That's what it used to be.
Right.
Choose it. Everybody agreed with that. Today's feminist is no more men, and we're going to take the woman, we're going to bind her breasts, we're going to cut her hair, and we're going to turn her into an asshole, and she's going to be a jackass version of a guy. And that's what it is.
Or Tim, based on what we said earlier, they're rallying around what they're great at, which is tearing down. Isn't the modern day feminist just about tearing the male patriarchy down versus boosting themselves up? They win by just losing. And then once they lose, they don't even want to step into the role. They're just going to move on to bitching about something else. They don't want to step into it.
That's it. That's pretty much it.
Well, they've destroyed all of our entertainment. So
that's it. Okay, my final thought prediction is assuming, Todd, that Donald Trump isn't somehow blocked legally from running because he's put in prison or whatever. Assuming that Donald Trump will run through the primary in all 50 states, he will be our nominee, our Republican nominee, and his running mate will be Tim Scott.
That's good. That's got pretty good odds. That'd probably be the leader in the clubhouse.
That's my prediction.
Hey, what if he picked that chick from Virginia, the lieutenant governor, black woman?
Oh, I like her. She's awesome. You're talking about when what is her name?
Gwen Stacy or something like that.
Winford or something like that.
Yeah, she's a double whammy.
Oh, she's great.
I have
No,
a
it's awesome.
I should probably know. I'm guessing, I remember this from 10th grade social studies or whatever, or political science. You have to be 35 years old to be president. You got to be a naturalized citizen. I'm guessing if you have a felony, that's a disqualifier, right?
I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe not.
Let's look that up.
I'd have to look that.
I'm
But
going
that's
to
what
go
they're
further
trying to
with
do.
my prediction.
Well, better yet, they're just
Yeah.
trying to put him in prison so he's
Yeah,
locked up
that's
and
going to
can't
be
get out.
my angle. I think that they're going to have it hanging, or there will be a technicality that, that's my prediction. I hate to say it.
I hear
But it also tells you back to what we said, how effing scared they are of this guy, and the fact that he won last time. All those things. These are, to me, I mean,
Yep. All right. This concludes the night. Another exciting episode of Insanity Island.
Kennedy Island. Todd, see you later,
Hey.
man.
good stuff, man. Have a good day, guys.
Tim,
All right.
later, dude.
Later.